This is episode 2 with the fitness professor, Doug Dorsey. Welcome to the Reignite podcast. My name is Todd Judkins, a former naval officer and corporate consultant turned life coach. And each week we'll bring you an inspirational person or message to help you discover how to reignite your life, get back in the game, and thrive in everything you do. Thanks for spending time with me today. Now let's light the fuse and reignite. Today, we have the pleasure of having Doug Dorsey, the fitness professor, with us today. And he is going to change your paradigm with his approach to fitness as a lifestyle. Doug, like many of us, was a former athlete, but found that once he transitioned into the corporate world, he began putting on weight a little at a time, but soon realized he had to make major changes to avoid the endless cycle of stress and overeating. Doug became a fitness instructor as motivation, and over time noticed many of his clients were doing the right thing with diet and exercise, but still weren't seeing any results. Does that sound familiar to anyone? So Doug set out to find a system based on simplicity, and what he is about to share with you will blow your mind in its ability to reignite your body and set you on the course to success. So without further ado, let's let Doug share his wisdom with the perfect scale. Hello, Reignite Nation, and welcome to another episode of the Reignite podcast. Today we have with us Doug Dorsey, the fitness professional, and he's going to share his approach, something that I found so unique and so compelling on living a healthy lifestyle, on losing weight, and how you can reignite your life through these processes. Hey, Doug, how you doing?
Very good. Very good. Good to talk to you again, Todd.
I know. It's good to see you again. Last time we saw each other, it was in sunny Southern California. Now we're both suffering through a cold snap here this winter.
It sure is. It was beautiful. Now I'm sitting here looking outside at some snow. So times have changed a little bit.
So Doug, when we were talking in San Diego, and you had such a compelling story around your approach to fitness, to weight loss, and to leading a healthy lifestyle. But one of the things we didn't get into is, what was your moment? What got you into this? What drove this to be your passion?
Well, I tell you, Todd, I'm going to take it back a little bit, but not too far. I don't want to bore your listeners. But I was an athlete coming out of college. I got an accounting degree. So I started working in the corporate world. And once I went from athlete, eating relatively healthy, exercising on a consistent basis, to working in a stressful corporate environment, slowly but surely the weight started to kind of add on. And then as I left the corporate world and went to an entrepreneurial environment, pretty much the same scenario. And I noticed that I was slowly but surely starting to incorporate a lot of unhealthy habits, and they were starting to kind of impact my health. And what I wanted to do was to get back into the health and the fitness level that I had when I was in college. Maybe I thought I couldn't go back there, but I knew I had to make some sort of change. And as I switched careers, I started to teach at a community college, which is where the professor side of the fitness professor comes in. I had more time, so I started to work out. I started to get a little bit healthier. And then I found my passion for helping people, not only just in the classroom, but also in the fitness side kicked in. So I started a personal fitness coaching business. And I started personal training, and I opened up a couple locations, and I was teaching at the same time. And now there are young children in my life. And all of a sudden, those unhealthy habits started to kick back in again. So here I was again, gaining weight, living unhealthy, and I'm helping people to get healthier. So as I started to help those people to get healthy, I started to realize, hey, the only way that someone can do this and do it long term is if they kind of make it systematic. And if they buy into the fact that there are components of being healthy and being fit that you just have to make part of your everyday life, just like brushing your teeth, right? And as I begin to help people and kind of work with them on where they are on the spectrum of being unhealthy and having a stressful lifestyle, I slowly created this system that has been phenomenal in terms of helping myself be healthy and keep my weight down and still be able to enjoy all the things that I do and live this crazy lifestyle, as well as helping others.
And this ties so much into what we do here at Reignite, where, very similar story. And I know a lot of you out there already know my story, naval officer turned corporate consultant. And just like Doug expressed, I had, just started packing on the pounds, putting on unhealthy, and stress just broke me down. We approached it from a mindset, meditation, and sleep perspective. Doug incorporates that and takes it into the next level for your fitness. So there is a lot of similarities, and that's why we have Doug here today. So Doug, tell me some of the things you've seen out there as far as, how unhealthy, especially American lifestyle has been.
We're getting it from all the gamuts. I mean, from the fact that we can start with nutrition and food, and everything is about convenience, because when you get stressed and you're trying to run from here to there and get all these things done, and you know that you have to eat, right? Because your body needs some fuel. Well, the restaurant industry has made it real easy for us to get food quick, easy. Unfortunately, it's not necessarily the healthiest. So that's one thing that we've all kind of incorporated into our lives that is in some ways reaping some negative benefits on us. And so just recently, actually, in the research I did for my book, I found out just this year, Americans are now spending more money on eating out than in grocery stores.
Wow.
All right. So we're now
that's something I didn't know.
Sure. So think about that. There's more establishments out there. They're all more convenient, and they all know just how to get us what we want, which usually in a stress-filled or a sleep-deprived life, we want carbs, we want fat, we want sugar and salt.
Wow. Yeah. And that crosses over for what, I teach about sleep. I mean, sleep is where your hormone balances come from. And so when you're balancing like leptin and insulin and ghrelin,
Sure.
these are those combinations, sleep is very important. So you're seeing that as well in what you're teaching your customers out there as well, right?
Oh, absolutely. We're seeing it in terms of the nutrition, in terms of the convenience of life, in terms of the stress, in terms of the lack of sleep. And the thing is, and I'm so glad that you talk about this, because so many people think that being healthy or losing weight is about nutrition and exercise. And while those are important parts, stress management, getting a good night's sleep, and staying hydrated, those are so important. So yes, you can't out exercise a bad diet, okay? But at the same time, if you're stressed and your hormones are all out of whack, not only are you not going to want to eat healthy, all right, but even if you do, you're still not going to have the same effects that you can if you manage that stress and get a good night's sleep.
Yeah. Did you hear that, Reignite Nation? I mean, this is so important. I stress, mindset, meditation, and sleep, but there is so much more to reigniting than just those three components. I'm just trying to set the foundation from the head up so that you can begin to set your body straight. What Doug is here teaching you is this is how you set your body straight. And this is awesome. This is why I really appreciate Doug coming on, because he's really filling in the gaps. He's the yang to my yang here as far as what we need to do to totally reignite our lives. So Doug, this unhealthy lifestyle is out there. What do you do when you meet a client for the first time to start to turn that around? What is your approach?
All right. So, I try to make it individually focused. So the first thing I do in my intake is try to get as much information as possible. All right. Because Rome wasn't built in a day, and we're not going to turn someone from living an unhealthy life to a healthy life in one day. All right. The unhealthy society that we live in, it's going to be here. I don't think that's changing. So what I try to get people to focus on the fact is that you have to change. You have to create your own system, or the system that's in our society that we've kind of made the cultural norm is going to get you. So I find out where they are, and then I try to get them an easy win right off the bat. So if there's something easy that we can pick off, that we can fix, let's get that straight. And then let's get these other things moving in the right direction. And let's just be realistic about how, when we're going to get to the point where we're really implementing everything and you're off and running.
Mm. So you're really not trying to pound a round peg into a square hole. You're trying to really meet everybody where they are individually and get them propelled forward to get on this healthy lifestyle.
Sure. That's the only way it's going to stick. So if I tell you, this is what I do, you do what I do, well, you're not me, and you're not living the same life that I am. And you may not have the same values or the same perspective that I do. So you may be successful in doing what I do, but that's going to be short term. That's going to be short term.
That's a key point. because I think there's so many programs, especially now where we are in the year, where people are starting to look at their annual goals and what can they do. And, they're getting inundated with all this information, but what's good for one person may not be necessarily good for the next person. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly, exactly. And yes, there are some key research, scientific evidence that we use in our programs and that is useful for everyone. So everyone needs to eat healthy food. Everyone needs to manage their stress, right? Everyone needs a good night's sleep. Everyone needs to exercise. But how you implement those things and how you make them work so that you can do them consistently, because consistency is the key.
Mm-hmm.
Consistently is the most important fact about trying to get healthy.
Well, yeah, because, I tell people when we meditate, I meditate twice a day and it's scheduled. I have it in my calendar and I
There
look
you
at my,
go.
even if I can't get, if I can't meditate at 5, I know I got a slot from 6:30 to 7, and that's when I'm meditating. So, and also what I talk about is it has to be a priority in your life.
Sure.
Because, I tell people that, when they say I don't have time to meditate, and I'm like going, then you're somebody that really needs to meditate really, really bad. Right.
Sure.
Because,
Sure.
it's just a matter of priority because, when I hear the time excuse, I don't have time to do this or that. I'm like, time is relative. It's really about priority. And if you want to know where your priorities are, I tell people to look where your time and your money are going to, and that determines your priority. So if you really want to make it stick, make the commitment to yourself and make it a priority in your life. Right.
Well, it has to be a priority. And again, the key word I mentioned was consistency, right? And so if it's going to be consistent, then it's got to be a priority. All right. The priority button goes down and it's low on the priority list. Your consistency does not exist.
So how do you get people to be consistent? You personalize a program with them, but what are some of the other things you do to kind of work on that consistency? Because earlier you mentioned kind of a key word, and I should have brought it up at the time, but I'm going to bring it up now. And
Sure.
that's called habit, right?
Yes.
Habits could be good and habits can be bad. But one of the things for sure is that you can only replace a habit with a habit. So
Mm-hmm.
if you have a bad habit, you have to replace that with a good habit. So what are the things you do to kind of get that consistency and build that positive habit?
Great question. What I do and what I talk with people about doing, and I mention this actually in my book, is I talk about creating systems. And I work with people to create systems so that it's very easy for them to get the things done that need to be done in order to be healthy. So when I talk about systems, for example, I'll give you a quick example. I talk about hydration and staying hydrated and drinking water and drinking good quality beverages, which other than water really are tea. There you go. I like seeing that.
Yeah, I'm showing Doug my big old pint bottle of high alkaline water. It's next to me all the time.
Sure, sure. And I've got my nice big 24-ounce green tea.
Yeah.
So staying hydrated is important, but see, I've created a system for me to get the amount of water that I need for my body to stay hydrated, right? Being athletic and working out 3-5 times a week, I should get about half my body weight in ounces in water. So I'm 200 pounds, I should get about 100 ounces of water. Well, what I try to do is help them create a system or a habit of getting that water consistently throughout the day. So I wake up, the first thing I do is I drink a glass of water with some lemon. And then what I'll do is just before every meal, I'll drink a glass of water, right? Every day I have a nice tall 24 ounces of green tea. I make sure every day I do. And then I also have a protein shake every day. That's my system to get 100 ounces of water. And so all I do is just follow that system, and I don't have to think about am I hydrated or not, because it's going to happen automatically for me. And so what I try to do in terms of helping people create habits is I talk about systems. Let's create a system to make sure you get your nutrition. Let's create a system to make sure you get your meditation in. Let's create a system to make sure that you're sleeping properly. So that's how I try to work with them.
Wow. So Doug, you've put all this knowledge into an upcoming book. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that book?
Sure. So the book is called The Perfect Scale, The Ultimate Fat Loss System. And again, I was just talking about systems. It's a fat loss system. So the perfect scale, first of all, is I came up with that title because I want people to stop utilizing the scale to determine if they're healthy or for their goals, and using a lot of people actually even allow that scale to determine their worth or their value. And that's just ludicrous. And I came up with that because I was working with a client who was doing everything right. They were eating right. They were eating consistently throughout the day. I could see from their workouts that they were getting stronger. Everything was moving in the right direction. And it came time for the monthly weigh-in, and she stood on the scale, and the scale only dropped a pound. Now, I know that there's muscle and there's fat and there's a whole bunch of other things going on, but was very happy with where she was and where she was going along the progress along the way. And she got off the scale and started crying. And I knew right then that the scale was the problem and the value that she put on the scale. And so I've seen that consistently when people come in, they want to be a certain weight. They don't want to be healthy. And I'm like, no, we don't want to work on weight. We want to work on health, right? So I created this book. It's called The Perfect Scale. And it pretty much allows you to eliminate the scale from your life, the traditional bathroom scale, right? So I tell people, take that scale, throw it in the closet, all right, or throw it down in the basement, right? Because that scale doesn't tell you if you ate well. That scale doesn't tell you if you got a good night's sleep the night before. It doesn't tell you a lot of things, all right? So what I did is the Perfect Scale actually measures the things that are important to fat loss, right, or to living a healthy lifestyle, all right? So those components consist of nutrition and exercise and stress management and sleep and hydration, and the one that nobody really talks about, which is planning. It plays such a key part in your ability to be able to be consistent and your ability to be able to actually stick with a program.
Wow. Can you take us another level deeper on how planning impacts your ability to succeed and be consistent? That's just an interesting point.
Sure. So planning, the process of actually making sure you're scheduling things in, is such a key component to fat loss that I call it the foundation, right? And you wouldn't want to build a house on a faulty foundation, right? The foundation is the most important key thing to make sure you can withstand any hurricanes or any sort of bad weather that may come up during your fat loss journey, right? So a real example on planning is I have a client who will, wake up, eat their breakfast, have a mid-morning snack, eat lunch, and then things go crazy and they may have to go home, and then you got to run kids around to certain athletic events, and you might have a meeting in the evening or something, exercise, something goes on, and then you get home and it's 6 o'clock and you're starving, right? And your hormones are all out of whack and your blood sugar's all out of whack. And the last thing you want to do is eat something healthy, right? So now they're reaching for wine or they're reaching for something else. And what I like to tell them is, well, that sounds like that's a planning problem, because if you knew after lunch that this was going to happen and you were going to be out at the ball field or you were going to be here, you should have planned to have something with you to eat to kind of cover you until it was time for dinner. So that's an example of planning. That planning would have simply said, oh, I need to grab a bar. Oh, I need to make sure I've got something in my lunchbox, something in the car, something available, or at least time to stop to get something so that you wouldn't have that blood dip in sugar and everything would have been perfect.
Yeah, I'll be the first to admit that I fall prey to that as well at times. But from a stress management perspective, I tell people planning is important all the time, and especially when you're dealing with stress, to go ahead and plan your next day the day before so that you can remove the stress of worrying about that at night and it's not impeding any of your sleep patterns. But you're taking it to the next level and saying that, take a look at everything, and that all has to be planned in, because I'll look at my schedule and I'll get everything set. I'll make sure my meditation is all set. But then I'll realize from, noon to 5, I'm in straight meetings all day, or I'm on client calls all day. And I haven't planned to make sure that my nutrition is taken care of during that time. That's just as important, because your blood sugar moving all the way around, we know, can really impact your ability to succeed, especially in weight loss.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. And as you said, planning and being in meetings all day, it's so important that at some point in time, right, you've got some sort of nutrition in there.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you don't, right, not only are you not getting the nutrition, but the stress of not having even adequate, nutrition is a stressor.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then on top of that, you're in meetings, so who knows what's going on inside the meetings as well. So it's very important to plan, very important.
Absolutely. So your book is The Perfect Scale. What is the perfect scale then? You talk about planning and different aspects, but what is is there a magic scale out there? Is this, what is the perfect scale?
Yes, there is a magic scale.
All right.
All right. And now we're getting into it. All right. If I'm going to tell you to get rid of one scale, like a habit, I got to give you something to replace it with. All right. So I'm recommending you replace it with what I created was called the perfect scale. And what that is very simply is it's a 10-point scale. Right. It's a 10-point scale. And your goal is to get 10 points every day. And it's not 10 points as if it's Weight Watchers. Right. It's not Weight Watchers food type points. It's 10 points in areas that are going to help to boost your metabolism and allow you to burn fat. So those points consist of points for nutrition and eating the right things throughout the day. You get a point for exercising or resting, because that's another thing that hopefully we'll be able to touch on is the exercise piece and how people are exercising too much. But you get a point for exercising. You get a point for managing your stress by meditating. You get a point for drinking the right amount of water and keeping your body hydrated. You get a point for sleeping properly, and you get a point for planning. Wow. So your goal every day is to get 10 points, right? And that's your scale. That's your scale. And we've all pretty much grown up in this American school system where we know 9 out of 10, that's an A minus, right? 8 out of 10, that's a B minus. All right. So you can give yourself a grade every day. That's the only score you need to look at. And the thing that I really love about the scale that I created is that not only can you look at it and you can see where you are for the day, but if you plot it, you can see where you are over a course of time. And you can see, wow, man, I keep missing my meditation, right? So now you need to, the thing that I need to work on is scheduling or planning or making sure I get my meditation in, right? Whereas if you just stand on a scale, that doesn't tell you whether you're stressed or not.
Yeah.
Or how well you're managing it.
This is so beautiful in its simplicity. I wrote the book Reignite because just like half of the people out there, I was a busy road warrior, traveling from city to city, and I needed things, and life was complex. So sure. I needed to break down things to make it simple so that I can execute it on a day-to-day basis. And that's what I chose to do and how I approach meditation, sleep, and mindset. And the reason I love this is because this breaks down everything around your personal wellness into that simple system so that the busy professionals, the soccer moms out there can follow this, can know. But you know what I really like about this system? I like the fact that most systems will start you out with points and then take it away. But here you are, you're earning those points. You're counting up to those points. And then you're able to very easily on a 10-point scale, track the results of that and know where areas you need to put a little bit focus on and what areas you're doing well on and do it simply. So this is just kind of a beautiful system here, right? We talked about nutrition, and you mentioned 2 key points too. And I think they're the yin and yang of each other. And the other one is exercise and the other one was rest. Why don't you expand upon that? Because you made a comment that people are just exercising too much.
Yeah. There's a lot of reasons why we do health and fitness wrong in this country. And unfortunately, being part of the fitness industry, I have to say we're contributing to that in a lot of ways, right? So you go to the supermarket, you look at the magazine covers, they're showing somebody with extremely low body fat, right? Who may not be doing the healthiest things to take care of their body. And that's put out there as the norm. And then we often do the same thing with exercise. People think about exercise and they think that they have to be pushing these big, heavy things and standing upside down, doing, a headstand and hanging on some rings and, throwing around real super heavy kettlebells and just doing things that they don't necessarily have to do. Now, the caveat to that is if you like to do that stuff, do it. But I don't want we shouldn't be teaching the norm or the general population that that's what it takes in order to be fit through exercise, right? And because we do, a lot of people shy away from actually entering in to the field of exercising, right? Because they don't want to do those type of things, right? And they think that, boy, if I have to go all the way there, I'm never going to make it. Whereas really, in terms of exercise, I'll tell people you only have to exercise one day. Okay. And when you exercise that one day, then you only got to exercise the next day. Right? Right? So you only got to look at it one day at a time.
Yeah.
Don't start looking all the way down. You only got to exercise one day, right? You only got to exercise one day.
Yeah, that reminds me. We had a saying in the Navy. The only easy day was yesterday. So
Sure,
it kind of goes with that.
absolutely. So in terms of exercising, you should be doing something with some weights. There should be some resistance to it, right? We always talk about metabolic resistance training. It's the best form of exercise for burning fat versus some steady state cardio that a lot of people will do. They'll go in, they'll get on a treadmill, they'll walk on it for 30 minutes, they'll run on it for 30 minutes at the same pace. That's really not the best for fat burning, but it is some form of exercise, right? It is some form of exercise, but we want to get people exercising 30 minutes a day, at least 5 days a week. And, my preference is that they're doing some sort of resistance or metabolic training with weights. It doesn't mean that they need to come in and they won't be able to walk the next day, right? If you go into a facility and you work with a professional and the next day you can't move, then you need to pick up the phone and fire them, okay? Because they didn't bring that program to you and where you are. And if they do that, then you'll be able to exercise for 30 minutes. You might feel a little bit uncomfortable the next day, right? Because you haven't done some things and moved some certain ways, but you should be able to get out of bed and you should be able to go about all your activities of daily living without being in extreme pain or discomfort.
Yeah.
So start where you are, use your 30 minutes, make sure you've got some sort of resistance training in there, right? And in terms of that, if you can do that 5 days a week and you're working at a pretty good intensity, then the other thing you need to do is rest. Your body has to heal. A lot of people think that they're building muscles while they're in the gym. Well, the truth is, no, you're not. You're not. You're actually building muscle when you're resting and you're repairing, right? When you're in the gym, you're tearing your muscle apart, right? That's part of the process, right? So you have to do that. But then afterwards, when you eat properly and you give your body proper nutrients and you rest, your muscle repairs itself so that it's ready for the next bout of exercise. And so sometimes it takes time to get ready for that next bout of exercise. So rest is important, right? So in my perfect scale, I give you a 0.2 days for resting. Okay. So just like you work out, you're supposed to work out 5 days a week. You're supposed to rest 2 days a week. You're not supposed to work out 6 days. You're not supposed to work out every single day. That's myth. And I know sometimes the young people can get away with that. I know when I was young, I used to exercise 6, 7 days a week. We playing football and working out and doing all that. And surely those bodies can handle it better. But even those bodies need rest.
Wow. I couldn't agree with you more on that. And again, this is just another example of what it takes. It can be simple and holistic and results driven. And speaking of kind of results driven, you just completed a 12-week program and you had some astonishing results based on the perfect scale. Can you share a little bit with us about the results of that 12-week program?
Absolutely. What I've seen, and I've had people going through this program for the past 3 years, Todd. So I tried to make sure I had enough research before I put this book out to actually be able to back up what I claim. And so in terms of that, what I've seen, and the results were very consistent with this last group that just finished here this week, is that people are losing 25 to 33% of their body fat. So what I mean by that is I test them in the beginning, right? And let's say a certain person has 60 pounds of fat on their body, right? They're going to lose 25 to 33% of that during those 12 weeks. So they're going to lose anywhere between 15 to 20 pounds of pure fat during that time period. Now, also during that time period, what I'm finding is people generally gain a little bit of muscle, which is great because when you're no longer eating for fat loss, right, you want to make sure that your metabolism's up so that when you're eating foods that aren't necessarily the healthiest, that you're not being negatively impacted and your body's actually using that for fuel. And the other thing I want to say, Todd, too, is during those 12 weeks, things happen. So I don't want people to think that, you need to get a perfect 10 every single day. So what I like to tell people is that there's only one valedictorian in the class, okay? And so only one person can get straight A's, right? And just because you got a B minus on a day, or one day you got one test you got a D on, right? That doesn't mean you're not going to have success. So these people that I'm talking about who finished this 12-week, actually just particularly, I measured someone this morning. She came in at 27% of her body fat she lost. Well, we had Thanksgiving. She had a birthday. She had weddings. There were also other events and things that are going to cause you to consume alcohol, right? Maybe not get the best night's sleep, maybe skip a meal here or there, or have a meal that's not quite up to par, meaning you're eating pizza, which doesn't count, right? Right? You lose a point, right? If you have a meal that you're supposed to eat that consists of protein, carbs, and fat, and you eat pizza, you don't get the point. So, and I haven't talked about the negative points yet either. So just know that during those 12 weeks, you don't have to necessarily be a saint and have all perfect scores. That's not how life works for anybody. And that's another thing that I like about my scale versus the traditional scale is that, yeah, you had a bad day, but that doesn't mean that everything's blown apart.
Yeah.
You know?
Now you intrigue me. So you got to tell me now, what is the negative points?
We all know that there are negatives in our society, right? And the two negatives when it comes to fat loss are alcohol and sugar.
Okay. Well,
okay. Alcohol and sugar. Those two have no place in a fat loss program.
Yeah. And everybody knows that those two are pretty much the same thing. So
sure.
Yeah, sugar, in my book, I speak about it. You know, it's one of the worst evils out there for the quantity we are putting into our bodies today. So I couldn't agree more. And that the fact that it is a negative, I think is perfect. Well, the program is, like I said, it's beautiful in its simplicity. The results are proven. And you do have another 12-week challenge coming up soon. Can you tell us about that and how people can get involved to contact you, getting on that challenge and get started with the Perfect Scale 12-week challenge?
Absolutely. So the book will be out on the 22nd. And what I'm going to do, I've got another group that we're going to start on the 15th of January. And what I'm doing, Todd, is I'm taking this now to another level. So all of the people who I've put through this program have been under my supervision in my facility. Now, with the book coming out, I'm trying to open it up to anybody who's interested, no matter where you are in the world. What that entails is I've got nutrition software where I do the nutritional counseling via Skype or Zoom. I've got personal training software or exercise software where I can customize their exercise programs. And I've also created a self-paced online course so that they can walk through at their own pace and learn the tools that are necessary in order to live healthy in an unhealthy society. And then I'm also going to offer a 12-week kind of in-action, Perfect Scale in-action program, which will have some group coaching, some accountability measures, some motivation, and as well as some weekly conference calls with me where I'm actually teaching. I think one of the things that I excel at is that for me, my perspective is that of a teaching versus just telling you what to do, right? If I tell you what to do, it's kind of like feeding a man a fish versus teaching him to fish. So I want to teach you how to do this so that you can live your life healthy, regardless of what's going on around you. So all that takes place. The next group I'm going to start on the 15th. We're a little bit behind on the website, or else I tell people to go to the website and check it out. But I'll give them the website. The website is thefitnessprofessor.com. And if they go there, by the time the book is out on the 22nd, we'll have the website up and they can get more information about it. I'm also going to be doing a webinar, which they'll be able to see the dates on the website, a webinar that'll give them a lot more information. Plus, I also talk about the one key to fat loss that no one's talking about. So actually, I talk about the two on that webinar. So I'm not going to give it away today. Unfortunately, I love you, man, and I love your listeners, but if they want the goods, they got to come to that webinar. Once they hear this content, I think their heads will shake and they'll understand why they may not have been successful in other fat loss journeys.
Yep. So you hear that, everybody. Get over to www.thefitnessprofessor.com, and we are going to time the airing of this podcast. So when you're hearing this, the website should be up and active, and you should be able to contact Doug and get involved in this program and get that second secret. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, Doug, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, being a part of Reignite Nation, and being a guest on the Reignite podcast. I hope to get you back as a guest. I'm going to be participating in the program, people. So, this is something that I was so intrigued about. It fit into the Reignite lifestyle for busy professionals, for soccer moms, for those of us that just want to get back in the game. Doug, thank you so much, and you have a great day.
No problem, man. I got to tell you, I'm looking forward to working with you and watching you go through this program and master the skills and the things that are needed to continue, to live healthy. Unlike most people that come through the program, you're already set on the sleep and the meditation, which is beautiful. Most of the time, I have to pull and prod and almost beat people to get them to take 15 minutes, half an hour to sit in silence and be still and actually allow their bodies to kind of de-stress. And you're already on the way, man. So I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Thank you so much, Doug. We'll talk to you.
All right. Take care.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Reignite podcast. If this episode resonated with you in any way, please share it with a friend. One of the greatest experiences human beings is being able to mastermind as a group, where we get together and collectively share and build off of each other's energy. Reigniting is no longer about accepting life as it comes, but designing the life you desire. We are committed to bringing you thought-leading and thought-provoking discussions to inform and motivate you in finding the joy in your journey, no matter what road you choose to take. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Todd Judkins, or send me an email at connect@toddjudkins.com. I'd love to hear about your struggles, your successes, and your thoughts. Thank you for listening, Reignite Nation. And always remember, the joy is not only in the destination, but what life has to offer in the journey. We'll be back with another full episode on Tuesday and with a short Reignite message on Friday just to jumpstart your weekend. Until then, keep that fuse lit and reignite.